Number 8. Chevrolet Impala. If you told an American over 50 that you grew up riding in the family Chevy, there is a meaningful chance that car was a Chevrolet Impala. For most of the early 1970s, the Impala was the best-selling car in the United States, leading the annual sales charts in 1971, 1972, and 1973 with a consistency that reflected how completely it had become the default American family car. The Impala's specific cultural position was the car of the working and middle-class American family. Large enough for everyone, priced accessibly within the Chevrolet lineup, and carrying the decades-long reputation of the nameplate that had outsold every other car in the country for most of the 1960s. The V8 options gave parents the performance American buyers expected. The station wagon configuration gave families with 3 children and a camping trailer exactly what the decade's suburban expansion required. The Impala is at number 8 because its sales leadership in the early decade and its association with the American family, the car parents drove before the Caprice Classic and the Cutlass offered a step upward, makes it inseparable from the experience of growing up in the early 1970s. Number 7. Ford Country Squire Station Wagon. Every American of a certain age remembers the back-facing rear seat of the Ford Country Squire. You sat with your back to the direction of travel, watching the road disappear behind you while the simulated wood paneling on the sides of the car, the die-knock wood grain applique that Ford used through the 1970s, communicated to the world that this family was going somewhere, and that the going required a vehicle large enough to carry everything they owned. The Country Squire was the full-size Ford station wagon, built on the LTD platform and extended to accommodate third-row seating and a cargo area that could swallow luggage, sporting equipment, camping gear, and the complete contents of a child's bedroom on the way to college. Ford sold it in significant numbers throughout the decade to exactly the families who needed what only a full-size American station wagon could provide: space, towing capacity, and the specific claim that the family had outgrown anything smaller. The children in the back-facing seat hated every mile of it. The parents, who could see the highway ahead and the children behind them simultaneously, found it the most practical vehicle they had ever owned. Number 6. Dodge Dart. The Dodge Dart compact of the 1970s was not a glamorous car. It was a reliable one, which, in the context of the decade's reliability complaints from the domestic industry's larger cars, made it something considerably more valuable than glamorous. The slant-6 engine that powered most Dart configurations developed a durability reputation during the 1960s that carried directly into the 1970s, and that owners who maintained it with basic regularity found difficult to surpass. Parts were inexpensive, every dealer knew it. Nothing about owning one challenged any general practice shop in any part of the country. The Dart was the car practical parents bought when the budget required something dependable: the daily commute, the school pickup, the grocery run that needed to happen every day without drama. In the driveways of working-class and lower-middle-class American families throughout the decade, the Dart was the car that asked nothing more than basic maintenance and returned the favor by starting every morning for years without complaint. The Dart is at number 6, the car that was, for a significant number of American families, exactly what a family car needed to be.
Number 5. Chevrolet Malibu. The Chevrolet Malibu occupied the mid-size segment of the GM lineup, positioned above the compact Nova and below the full-size Impala, at precisely the price point and size that the American suburban family of the early and mid-1970s was identifying as the right car. The Malibu offered buyers the V8 performance that American families still expected without the full-size dimensions that urban and early suburban environments were making increasingly impractical. The 1973 Colonnade redesign gave the Malibu a more formal roofline and a more conventional appearance than the performance-oriented Chevelle it shared a platform with. The Malibu is at number 5. In the subdivision driveways of the American Midwest, South, and suburban Northeast throughout the decade, it was the family's first or second car, the mid-sized domestic sedan that replaced the full-size for the family that didn't need to seat 6, but needed something larger than a compact. It was in the school parking lot when parents arrived for pickup, in the church parking lot on Sunday, and in the driveway every evening. A car whose specific ordinariness made it universal in ways that more remarkable cars never achieved. Number 4. Ford LTD. The Ford LTD was the full-size Ford that competed directly with the Chevrolet Impala and Caprice throughout the 1970s, a large, comfortable American family car that sold in the hundreds of thousands annually and occupied the driveways of exactly the American families that Chevrolet's equivalent was simultaneously pursuing. Ford positioned the LTD as a refinement step above the standard Galaxy, with advertising that emphasized quietness and interior luxury at a price that the American middle-income family could reach. Road tests of the period noted the LTD's interior isolation from road noise as a genuine engineering achievement relative to its contemporaries. The 351 and 400 cubic inch V8 options gave it the power that American family car buyers expected. The LTD's styling updated annually in the way that American family car buyers expected. Fins gave way to cleaner lines, which gave way to the more formal Landau rooflines of the mid-decade years. The LTD is at number 4, the car in the driveway of the family that had specifically chosen Ford, not because it was dramatically different from the Caprice, but because that family had always bought Fords. Number 3. Buick LeSabre. The Buick LeSabre was the car that American parents bought when they were ready to tell themselves and their neighbors that they had made it. Not Cadillac money, not Oldsmobile money exactly, but Buick money, the specific step up the American automotive aspiration ladder that communicated stability, success, and the kind of quiet confidence that didn't need to announce itself with a performance badge. Buick sold the LeSabre as the entry point to General Motors' premium lineup, positioned above the Chevrolet Impala and below the Electra. The smooth, torquey V8, delivering power with minimal effort and maximum comfort, embodied the Buick identity in the way the brand had been communicating since the 1950s. In the suburban neighborhoods of the 1970s, a LeSabre in the driveway had a specific meaning. This family had 2 incomes, the children were going to college, and the adults had reached the point where they could afford to be comfortable. The LeSabre is at number 3. Millions of Americans grew up watching their parents drive one and understanding, without being told, exactly what that car meant about where the family had arrived.
Number 2. Chevrolet Caprice Classic. The Chevrolet Caprice Classic was the premium tier of the Chevrolet full-size lineup. The Impala, with additional interior content, a more formal appearance, and the specific suggestion that the buyer had made a considered choice rather than simply accepting the standard product. The Caprice Classic was the car that Chevrolet offered to the parent who had been driving Impalas for 15 years and was ready for the version with the Landau vinyl roof, the velour seating, and the additional trim content that distinguished the Caprice Classic from its sibling on the showroom floor. It led American car sales in 1977 and 1978, following the 1977 downsizing that reduced the full-size Chevrolet's weight by approximately 700 pounds and its length significantly, reinvigorating the nameplate at exactly the moment when fuel economy had become a purchase criterion even for full-size buyers. In American family life of the 1970s, the Caprice Classic signified a specific kind of domestic arrival, the quiet, comfortable arrival of the parent who had been making the same payments on the same house for 20 years and was now driving the nicest version of the car their neighbors were all driving. Number 1. Oldsmobile Cutlass Supreme. The Oldsmobile Cutlass Supreme sold approximately 4.2 million units across the 1970s. It was the best-selling passenger car in the United States in 1975, 1976, 1978, and 1979, 4 of the decade's 10 years.
No other single nameplate accumulated that combination of total volume and annual sales leadership in the same decade. The Cutlass Supreme occupied a specific and precisely calibrated position in American family life, above the Chevrolet and Pontiac midsize alternatives, below the full-size Buick and Oldsmobile, and priced at exactly the point where the American middle-class family with 2 incomes and a recently paid-off mortgage could make the purchase feel earned. The personal luxury coupe configuration, with its opera windows and plush interior, gave buyers a car that communicated something specific in a 1970s suburban driveway. This family had arrived at a stable position in American life. In nostalgia conversations about the decade, the Cutlass Supreme appears with a consistency that its sales data explains precisely. It was, by every available measure, the car of the 1970s American parent.